right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Esports and Emotional Intelligence. We want to talk about how gaming can boost social and emotional intelligence amongst middle school, high school, and actually we'll even address some elementary school as well. But my name is Garcia, and I'll be moderating this panel here. I work for the San Diego County Office of Education, and I have the distinct honor and pleasure of being able to help facilitate our esports programs across all 42 plus districts here in San Diego County. And to my left, I'll have my fellow panelists introduce themselves.
Hi folks, my name is Dr. Minhtuyen. I work at Create, which is a center at UC San Diego. We specialize in educational equity and teaching excellence.
My name is Angelique Gianas. I work at Helix Charter High School. I'm an English teacher, and I also run our gaming and esports program at our campus.
Hi everybody, thanks for being here. My name is Roel Mislan. I'm from Feaster Charter School. I am the ELOP coordinator and also the technology manager. And we have a pretty fun esports presentation for you all.
And a quick question, who here actually is in education, whether that be as a teacher, counselor after school, any coach? Awesome. Well, thank you for being here for the Educator Series, and thank you for being in the midst of everything that we do for our students. All right, so as we get started, I just want to kind of emphasize some of the types of opportunities that we do here with the county, but we have had the opportunity of doing some comprehensive work on a variety of levels. Dr. Mai and myself do a coaching clinic 3 times during the school year to prepare teachers on different attributes of bringing standards and on all levels from academic to social and emotional, and preparing them for even when it comes to building out an esports program and just the financial aspects of it. But then in addition to that, we've had the honor of working with schools such as Helix and Feaster Charter and many more, where we support their schools in the rollouts and providing tournaments of whatnot on different weekends. So this is just a few photos that you'll see here on the side of some of the evidence of the opportunities that we have across the county. And I would have to say within the last year and a half, it's been growing exponentially. But one of the things that I wanted to address prior to this is a challenge that we noticed within some of the conversations that we've had within our coaching clinics, and then also some conversations we've had even with just our schools and our teachers, and that is the impact of attendance. And we've noticed that ever since the pandemic, attendance has dwindled down, where school and attending school has been a challenge across every single school district across our county from start to finish. And what we have, while I'm not going to read off what's exactly here on the slides, I do want to say that one of the ways of combating what's going on with the loss of students having interest and intrinsic motivation to attend school is finding ways of capturing what motivates them and bringing them into school. And one of the things that motivates students and what keeps them up late from even not showing up to school is staying up late playing video games. So why not capitalize on that interest and find a way to bring that to school, especially in a more safer and academic setting that could exponentially just change their lives. Dr. Mai and myself wanted to talk about, and I also wanted to get Roel to get, just to talk a little bit about more of the CASEL standards. Any teachers or counselors here familiarized with the CASEL standards? All right, we have a few of them. So all in all, these are standards, just like we have standards for technology, science, math, English, and everything else. We also have social emotional standards that have been developed. And I'm going to ask Dr. Mai and Roel if you'd like to share a little bit more about your experience with CASEL and just about how you are actually using them within just the role of video gaming right now at your sites.
There's been an uptick in SEL frameworks in the past decade, but this framework has been going on for the past 30 years, and we see that now more and more districts are adopting these SEL standards because it really updates and upgrades like all the emotional learnings that the students have to go through, and districts that do adapt that, they have seen like a significant increase in school attendance, school engagement, student engagement, and then also like just overall like student going to school and being like super hyped about it.
Yeah, so at Feaster Charter School, I'm not sure, we did have some educators here who are familiar with CASEL core competencies. So at Feaster Charter, we use a curriculum called Second Step. Second Step drives a lot of those competencies for us, but we also wanted to explore how do we motivate these kids to do to be good members of society. And we already know they're playing video games. And so actually when Chris and I both went to the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, and we met a vendor there who was doing professional development for nurses who worked in elderly homes. And so they were using video games or a simulation to train these staff how to respect elders. And we thought, what if we could do that with students? What if we could teach our students to be respectful to elders? And so we started exploring. We'll talk a little bit more about it, but now we've been working with this organization, the Mental Health Association of Maryland, where we're looking at CASEL core competencies and infusing it with video games to see if we can teach our kids how to be respectful citizens.
Thank you both for sharing. So let's go ahead and dive in a little bit into the questions that we wanted to just address when it came to esports, video gaming, and just the social emotional intelligence of students. So I'll start off with this question, and then we'll start with Dr. Mai, we'll go to Roel and Angelique. But what is your experience with video games, and how has it impacted you as an individual and educator?
I think video games have a direct correlation to learning, especially for reading comprehension. So I myself, I grew up as a first-generation Vietnamese American, and then I discovered Pokemon. I used to not be into reading so much, and because playing Pokemon Blue and Red, it really enabled me to increase my reading comprehension. And then later in undergrad, I got a chance to do research with World of Warcraft and how at-risk boys got a chance to up their scientific reasoning skills and do sorts of online collaboration and team efforts. And then there's so many direct benefits in learning that you can take away from playing video games.
Yeah, so I grew up when Atari, ColecoVision, Commodore 64, all the older people know what I'm talking about. But I grew up with video games like ingrained in me, and so really it helped drive a lot of my curiosity, my imagination. I played Street Fighter, I play MMOs, I still play video games today. And I think it really has influenced my career choices and what I've been doing. I got interested in technology, obviously a tech manager. It helped me be curious about how the inside of the computer worked, and so I was upgrading my own video cards, doing things, and it just really led and really influenced my career path.
For me, video games have always been a part of my life. I still remember like one of my best birthdays ever was the day I got my N64 and got to upgrade from my NES. And so it's always been a part of my life. I grew up with not a lot, and so video games were an escape. They were a way to socialize with my friends, and they provided a challenge and gave me achievements that I could do in my life when there wasn't a lot going on. And so that really inspired me to continue playing my entire life. And then I became an English teacher, and I realized like the reason why I became an English teacher is because I love stories, and what is in video games? Stories. And so luckily, I was blessed to figure out how to mesh the two, and as an educator, I started with creating a gaming club at my school, and then I started weaving it into my curriculum. So we get to play video games in my English classroom, and so it's really inspired every aspect of my career.
Which leads us to this next question, which is it's a little important because you brought up something about just what you do in school. And Angelique, if you don't mind starting this one off, only because you have a long standing with building out a program there at Helix High School, but that is, how do we go from seeing video game addiction as a problem to welcoming it into schools? What are the main challenges and misunderstandings about using gaming for learning, and how can we tackle them?
It's a loaded question. Well, I really feel like the transition was the people who are gamers grew up and became educators and got involved in the school system, and also the rising research that's come out that shows that video games don't make you more violent and don't rot your brain. And some of the challenges and misunderstandings is that esports is not a sport. and the misconception that we just play video games for fun and it's not actually helpful for us. I think one of the biggest barriers now is the cost and tech issues. I know depending on your school site, it's really difficult to get the necessary equipment and also get the reliable internet connection that's necessary.
Roel, do you mind talking a little bit about just some of the demystification and addiction as a problem, and what are the main challenges that you faced?
Yeah, absolutely. So just as Angelique mentioned, that the tech barrier is there, and so we had to work with our district IT to make sure, hey, look, what we're doing is not just playing, we're actually learning too. And so I think if any of you are familiar with Mr. Rogers, I found a quote, but it's very applicable. Play is often talked about as if it were a relief from serious learning. But for children, play is serious learning. Play is really the work of childhood. And so when we're talking about these video games and we're talking about how we can engage these students, Chris talked about the attendance issues that we're encountering all across the nation, getting our kids to school. They don't want to come to school. They want to play video games. Let's use the video games to really encourage them and not see it as something that is non-productive, because they can actually learn from them also. There's so many powerful things. Angelique talked about integrating curriculum, and so we'll be talking about curriculum here in a second and how we're using video games as a source of curriculum to use interventions for students and to really capture that excitement that they have when they're at home and bring it to school.
Dr. Maya, do you mind addressing moderation a little bit when it comes to just addictive video game playing?
Yeah, so I want to backtrack to For Better or Worse, the pandemic. It really highlights more of the, openness for educators and administrators to understand how can we get students to be more engaged. So that opens their minds to if the students are going to play video games anyways, we might as well have a structured school structured activity. So I would say that everything needs to be in moderation. So educators can control the curriculum and build structures for healthy gameplay. And then once the students are in an after-school club, people need to learn that it's not 100% free play. It's not come one, come all. There are actually more structures in place, and then my colleagues could talk more about that, what they do with their after-school gaming space.
Awesome. Well, that actually leads us to this next aspect, and that is, we'll start off with you, Dr. Mai. What inspired you to explore the connection between esports and social emotional learning? And I'd like for you to just kind of address some of the things that we've actually probably talked about even within our coaching clinic when we're talking to teachers about this same subject.
By promoting a healthy gameplay and environment, you're actually welcoming more students who are hesitant to join. So in one of my research, I found that sometimes girls are hesitant to join because what you don't want to do is make another after-school boys club, right? So how do we make that a little bit more inclusive so then girls and gender non-binary students are more welcome to play? And then there's been a promotion, a big emphasis on how to make gaming more inclusive, and I'll let my colleagues talk more about that.
Roel, can you elaborate a little bit more about just the esports and the social emotional learning and what you've seen within the middle school students that you've worked with? Yeah,
absolutely. So right now, social media is such a huge component of the modern world today, right? TikTok, Instagram, Facebook for the older folks. But the kids these days, they are on TikTok and doing these challenges that are super inappropriate. I don't know if you've seen some of the TikToks that are there, but the TikToks where they take fishing line and try to see if you can saw a chair in half, right? And so that was really a powerful motivator. There's so much influence with media today with our children, with our students, but we don't have a positive outlet. And so taking that power and making it so that the students can actually do something worthwhile, beneficial for society, is something that we really need to tap into. And so that was a huge motivator to like, what is the world that we know that our students are growing up in today? Let's use that world and teach them how to build a better tomorrow, right?
Angelique, as you work with students every single day, you mentioned something when we were preparing for this, but about high engagement when discussing games in class. Do you mind elaborating a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've always been super nerdy. And when I started teaching English, I would try and reach the kids, and I would be like, oh, well, it's like in this game, or have you ever played this game, or like we're doing this. And, you know, you see obviously the kids light up, and they're like, you know what Halo is? And they freak out. And so, you know, seeing that, like them lock in and they're paying attention to everything you're saying, but when I have, you know, the book open, they're falling asleep. I'm not dissing books. I love reading. But, and so like seeing that is what inspired me to create our after school gaming club. Also just seeing the need for that space. I'm sure everyone growing up here, you did not have a space to play video games when you were in school. And so when I became a teacher, I was like, why doesn't this exist? And so those students I noticed were the students who weren't involved in sports. They weren't involved in anything else. And so why not make that space for them? And then also, like, as a woman, right, as a woman being in charge of something like this and creating a gaming club, like, that speaks to it as well. And I hope that it makes my space more inviting, so it isn't just like an after-school boys club like we were talking about. And so really just seeing them enjoy that space is inspiring.
Can I just piggyback off of Angelique too? So when we developed our esports program at school, we have a lot of students who are English language learners, or they're also students with special needs. And so they have, for those educators out there, they have IEPs and different needs. And so when we gave them this space, just like Angelique mentioned, they were thriving. They were being the communicators. They were being the leaders. And that's what we need to, whatever tools and medium that we can give them so that they can really spread their wings is what we're trying to do. And so we saw this a lot at Feaster Charter School with I have my esports coach out here somewhere. Raise your hand. Yeah, Ruben. And so we've seen like one of our students for our Rocket League competition teams, a 7th grader. He's an amazing kid, but he has IEP. He has some academic needs, but when we see him out there, he's the leader communicating. Mm-hmm. He's the one that is calling things. He's the one that's showing this emotional intelligence, which is what we want to capture for all of our kids. Mm-hmm. And so being able to be a clear and effective communicator, calling out the white elephant, talking about it and working through it. We've seen some amazing things in just the short amount of time that we did when we started our esports program.
So you all have led me to this next part that I really think that all of you that are educators in here are going to like this, but let's talk a little bit about integrating video games into the curriculum. Curriculum design is a passion of mine, and it's something I enjoy doing, and I know my fellow educators as well. So the question is how can educators integrate gaming into the curriculum to support students' emotional development? And Dr. Mai, I would like for you to go ahead and start this off as a theorist. And just a little shout out, in her dissertation, she does have a specific chapter focused on esports. So if you have access to any academic journals, you should look her up and see if you can check it out. So, all right.
I would say gamers are number one resilient. So any gamers in a room, in a house, like y'all know, like if you die, you can try again. And then this is a form of resilience that take place when students pursue really hard subject matters such as like, English literacy, computer science, mathematical. I do a lot of computer science learning opportunities, and I would say that the students that come in as gamers, they are really, I guess they're a little bit more comfortable in failing at learning how to do computer science programming. So I think, encouraging gamers to, pursue like core subject matters, it goes a long way.
Angelique, you have more of a personal story to share regarding things that have happened in your classroom, but do you mind elaborating a little bit about how integrating curriculum supports your students' social and emotional development?
Yeah, I teach science fiction literature, which is awesome. I'm very blessed. And so when I got to start teaching that class, we do different units on aliens and zombies and all of that fun stuff. And one of the units that we do is artificial intelligence and robotics. And so when I took that curriculum over, I love the game Detroit Become Human. If you're familiar with it, it is amazing. And so we examine our big question in that unit is, what does it mean to be human? And at what point do we consider androids human beings? And so I thought, what a great opportunity to weave that game in. And if you're familiar with the game, you know that it has multiple different endings. It's like 40-something different endings, and everything that you choose determines the outcome of the game. And so that game is amazing. If you teach English, I would highly suggest that you incorporate that into your curriculum. I have my students play it. We play through the entire game. There's a student controlling the controller and making those decisions, and so it allows them to, it's decision making, it's examining your morals, it's thinking about different perspectives and being empathetic, and it really gets them thinking about what's going on in our world today and what the future holds for us, more so than I think any book could. Every single student in the class is like locked into that game, and it's just an amazing experience. And so that's a core thing that I've integrated into my curriculum. But also, like any multiplayer game, this is silly, but if you've ever played like the game Overcooked, like that is some serious, you got to be a clear communicator in that game. And so like just like exposing students to those silly games, but also more serious games like Detroit Become Human have been awesome.
Roel, if you don't mind sharing a little bit about Engage With, and then also share with us, you mentioned something that was very powerful right now, which was the students that deal with or that have an IEP. And those of you that don't understand that acronym, it's Individualized Education Plan. And if you could just share a little bit about what you're doing with Engage With, but then also share about some of those interventions that you showcased to Dr. Gallegos and myself when we went to go visit you regarding Rocket League.
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked about this earlier, but right now we're focused on capturing the power of video games to teach our students, right? And so one of the things that we were looking at was working with this association, the Mental Health Association of Maryland, who has been developing this professional development for adults to learn how to treat elders with respect. And so we started piloting a program where we're bringing it to our students, having them go through that same simulation. And so the actual simulation, there's 4 different types of elders that they have to deal with, each with their own particular quirks, if you will, characteristics. And so the students, when they're going through this game, are developing not only awareness of themselves, which is a CASEL core competency, but social awareness, recognizing the needs of another person. And so it was really funny and cute, but I think we started with our 2nd graders through 8th graders. So we're a charter school, TK through 8th grade. But we've had 2nd graders who were interacting with these elders, and they could visibly see the elder getting mad, and they were starting to get scared because they were like, am I going to get in trouble? And so it was really cool to see that reaction, not them getting scared, but them recognizing that they're making somebody angry, and then taking a step back and saying, whoa, maybe I should answer a different way or do something else. And so it's been a lot of fun, and hopefully we have a couple more pilot sessions through this year, and hopefully it develops into something that we can capture and use and teach our students how to really just interact with other people. And so it's right now, interacting with other people is through social media on devices, right? But having that experience, even though albeit a virtual one with a virtual avatar, having that experience and seeing the reactions and their physical face reactions really can drive that sense of experience for the students and then help them become more socially aware, which is another Castle core competency. And so we're really excited about the prospect of doing something like that, using video games to teach these emotional skills. As to the intervention, right now, we are looking at some curriculum that USAEL, USA Electronic Sports League, Esports League, has basically, and they've taken the Code Mastery is the name of the company, but the CEO of that company was a former teacher, and he recognizes that this is such a untapped potential where kids are playing all these games. They're playing Smash Brothers, they're playing Rocket League, they're playing Minecraft, they're playing, I don't know, I forgot what else they're using, but they're taking all these video games and then applying it to standards, like for example, ratios, math ratios. And they're talking about the aspect of, because kids are watching, like they'll go on Twitch or they'll go on YouTube and they'll watch gamers stream stuff and they'll be totally into it, totally fixated with it. But this company has taken these standards and infused them into the gameplay. And so now we're starting to explore, talking about that student with the IEP who has academic needs with math. And so he knows Rocket League and he understands the strategy behind Rocket League, and he knows when you make a bad commit or you have bad ratios. But taking that academic component, hey, you know what? All the bad ratios that you're recognizing in the video game, bad ratios is also a mathematic concept that you can really apply to other areas. And so now we're starting to explore, how do we capture these things that we know these kids are watching anyway, and then using it and sneaking in that academic content so that they're actually getting their needs as well. And so these are things that we've been exploring.
Take notes also for this next question, because we're going to address one of the most important audiences and stakeholders when it comes to participating parties when it comes to education, and that is parents and caregivers. And the question I'm going to start off with, and Dr. Maya, if you don't mind kicking off answering this, and that is, how can parents and caregivers be involved in leveraging gaming for their children's social and emotional growth?
In our coaching teaching clinics, we make our teachers do a parent night presentation. So then it addresses many main concerns like the cost, like the addiction, and many other things. So preparing like a parent slide deck of debunking myths on like what are the dangers of video games and esports, that can go a long way. And then also during parent night, we encourage the teachers to have the parents play with their students, their kids, especially get the non-gamer parents involved. Anything that's like really hanging fruit, like Connect 4 or Uno, goes a long way.
Angelique, what's been your experience when it comes to working with the parents and even the students at your site? Has there been any resilience from parents or any convincing where they finally are able to see the worthwhile of being involved with video games?
I think so. I think, also some of my students' parents are gamers, but also on the other side, some are not. And I always encourage them, like, you can play any games with your kids. You don't have to play Fortnite or Minecraft. Like, take out your N64 and get on some Mario Kart and beat them. Because, humble them a little bit. And that's exciting. And I think it's like a way for parents to connect with their kids. And also it's a way to model good behavior for your kids. Like you're as you're playing with your child, you're modeling, emotional regulation. You're modeling being a good sport and knowing how to lose and resilience. And so encouraging parents to kind of step out of their comfort zone and do that. Sometimes at the end of my gaming club, parents will be there to pick up their students, and so I invite them in and they'll play Smash with the rest of the kids. But also when I talk to parents, I always tell them it's really important that you know what your child is playing and where they are playing and who they are playing with. Just knowing the safety aspect of it and the dangers of online gameplay, I think is really important to emphasize as well.
And Roel, if you don't mind just emphasizing and just kind of elaborating a little bit more, and then also sharing a little bit about the success of the parent night that you hosted when you first even just brought up the idea of hosting esports there at Feaster.
Yeah, absolutely. So first I'm going to call out my kids. My kids are sitting over there right now, Malia and Micah. And so, like, as a parent and a gamer who is the father of gamers as well, actually they don't consider themselves gamers because it's just a natural part of their identity. But I think what's powerful is when I just, like, we'll sit and watch YouTubers and streamers, and I'll see them, they're watching it, and I just sit down and watch with them, and I'll ask them questions about it, right? And so just get involved with what they're doing, and it could be just sitting down with them and watch what they're watching or do what they're doing. I've also played games with them also, like Micah and I play fighting games every once in a while, Street Fighter. And Malia and I play like MMOs, like Star Wars, the Old Republic, and we just it's a way to spend time with your kids, and so I would encourage you to do it because it's a lot of fun. But as to parents and getting parents more involved, we did host the parent night when we were first starting our esports program. We talked about all the benefits of esports, of video games. Like there are scholarships out there right now for esports that students can tap into. There is, obviously, we're talking about the emotional intelligence aspects of it, but there's also the academic aspects of it. And so we had a parent night where we communicated this to our parents saying, these are all things that you can do. Video games is such a huge industry. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Like you go over to Comic-Con, there's video games over there, right? And so we want to tap into this, and we want to get ahead of this because for so long, education has always been working from behind, and now we want to try to get AI is another huge component that we need to get ahead of, but that's not this panel here. but definitely we want to be able to use it, and so we want to explain and communicate to parents that this is something that you need to get involved with your kids with because they're already doing it.
That's awesome, and as you're saying that, it's just reminding me there are many directions we could have gone with this specific topic. We are very passionate about building bridges when it comes to careers and opportunities for students to find careers, or even emphasize a little bit on more of those soft skills and how those soft skills can translate to different aspects in careers, and even our collaboration with some of our esports collegiate groups here in San Diego. And just as a heads up, UCSD does offer scholarships for students to be involved with esports there, and that's just the beginnings of it. And if you actually Google and do some research, you'll find out that there are full ride opportunities across the United States and other universities where it's full ride for students that are dominating in a lot of these games. So just look at that, and that's always going to be a big aspect of it. And another thing I'm just going to add when it comes to getting parents interested and involved is that esports has officially been integrated by the California Interscholastic Federation, which is CIF, which is where we have our football, baseball, the traditional athletics. So there you go. So for parents to realize, like, hey, you know what, my child can get a Letterman letter, they can get scouts and scouted for esports. It kind of changes the game, no pun intended, a little bit. So, but we wanted to go ahead and open up this next opportunity for any questions that our audience may have regarding anything you might have heard from us these last few moments. So we're going to go ahead and open up to the floor. If anyone has any questions, it can be something academic or whatever. Yes.
So we're parents. We have a 5-year-old who is very into video games, and we feel like he has like a natural talent for video games. And you know, when you have a kid, they have a natural talent for a musical instrument or a physical sport. You want to nurture that talent. So we want to give him that opportunity, but also he's 5. Go outside and get a kid and, you know, do those types of things. So I guess what are your recommendations on like creating that balance or boundaries for kids who are so young? And like, I don't know, finding that balance of how much time you should play or what types of games you should or shouldn't be playing at such a young age.
I mean, for comparison to, he plays with me,
Yeah.
and we're playing like Overwatch, and
Wow,
At 5?
that's impressive.
Wow, okay, that's impressive.
I would be
Bring on the
lying if
Feaster
like a
Charter.
5-year-old hadn't killed me on Fortnite.
Yeah.
You know, they're really good.
So, I'll tackle this. Well, I'll attempt to tackle this one. But video games is amazing, and we've talked about like emotional intelligence. We've talked about academic. We didn't talk about career, which I'll infuse in a little bit. But there's a hand-eye coordination. There's the cognitive awareness that is associated with video games too. So I definitely encourage him if he has that talent, that skill. We at 5 years old, we will go and watch our kids play Pop Warner football or whatever, soccer. So like I don't know if there's any tournaments for kids that young yet, but definitely encourage it. But just like Dr. My mentioned, you have to temper it, right? They can't just be on video games all the time. You have to infuse getting outside and feeling the sun on your face, right? You have to do those things too, and so it will require a balance, and I don't think there's a perfect ratio for that. It's just a lot of what you're doing with your kid, but then getting up and you can, even when you're playing Fortnite, you can get up and, get some exercise in or do whatever. And so there's other opportunities to infuse that physical component too. For our after-school club, one of the things one of the best practice, I've been talking with a lot of different esports programs across the nation actually, and so some of the best practices that we've heard are before they even get into play video games, you do a physical activity first, right? Not only does that prep them, it gets their blood pumping, and so they're ready to cognitively be aware when they play those video games, and it might just make them better, right? And so try to find those balances and infuse those things when you can, for sure.
Did anyone else want to add?
Just piggybacking off of what you were saying, like the structured time, but I think also as a 5-year-old, like communicating to your 5-year-old in as best as you can, like why it's important to like stretch or get outside, or that's going to make you better at the video games, or it's going to make you better at doing what you're passionate about. And I think having conversations, encouraging reflection. Why did you make that choice? Like, as much as you can with a 5-year-old, but having those conversations so that they know as they grow into becoming a well-seasoned gamer, they are aware of how to stay healthy while doing it. I think it's a great opportunity that they're really good at it at 5 years old, because you can really like instill good habits in them at this point.
I would say also put up guardrails and protection for your 5-year-olds, because you don't know like the level of toxicity in place, because Fortnite, I believe, is mostly for middle schoolers and teens. So play with them and just monitor who they interact with, and if you should or may like turn off their mic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is good. You're just making up. They're like,
Yeah.
what are they saying? They said you're really good.
Why is there a lot of money signs at symbols and all these different special characters? What are they telling me there?
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to one of my colleagues, and we'll get to your question in a minute. Carrie Lane, she's here because what I'm about to share with you all is just a connection that we did a few weeks ago with our esports camp. And what we did was we had the students on the first day, on Monday, they created an ecosystem challenge over Minecraft, and they had to build a sustainable building. But the next day, we did a cooking lesson, and they had to make a Minecraft salad. And Carrie Lane, another session we'll actually talk about esports and food, because in this lesson, students not only, they had every connection of their salad, had an icon and the name of that specific food group that was found in Minecraft. And then, of course, we talked about the benefits of eating carrots and how it almost acts like blue light resistance to your eyes, the importance of different oils, and we used olive oil for the dressing and made a special like vinaigrette or olive oil, lemon, and Dijon mustard and honey. Hopefully I got that correct. But to showcase to the students the importance of what oils do to your brain and to your joints and whatnot, and talk a little bit about omega-3s and how that helps your brain activity and function. So taking those moments of talking to your student, like, hey, make a digital version of this on Minecraft, and then after that, let's go make a real one. So just being creative. And by the way, I mean, no affiliation or anything, but there are a lot of cookbooks down there at the floor as well, so you'll find some connections with that.
And this is an example of, when you send your kids off to esports summer camp, they don't play all the time. So this is what they do.
Yes, question over there.
Number one, can we have a link to that? Number two, friends of mine do, it's a video game to teach KSL basically to neurodivergent kids. What kind of contact information should I give them?
You can contact us, and we can help collaborate with that as well. And actually, there's a QR code here that'll take us straight to our link tree, or you can just go to San Diego County Office of Ed and look up the EdTech department. All of our contact information is there as well. That's our goal is here to serve every single educator, private school, public school, charter school, it doesn't matter. We're here to support them in any aspect, especially our EdTech department. So questions you have like that, we can definitely either answer them or point you into the right direction as well.
Do you want to share what you do with the friendship schools, Chris?
Yes, actually, Carrie Lane and I actually both had the opportunity of visiting Friendship School, and that is a school for the medically fragile. So these are students that will normally and typically communicate with switches, and it'll be like just very simple, like you'll have a green and a red switch button, kind of like yes, no. And if you've noticed, and some of you that might be familiarized with the Microsoft Adaptive Controllers, so we created a special friendship day school where we actually had an esports tournament, and we really called it a day of innovation, where students came in, and I kid you not, they were engaged with the old school Super Mario from the 1980s because you're having Mario just run and jump, and they were having a lot of fun with that. And then the other games that we played were with the T-Rex run when you have no internet on your Google Chrome browser, and then Pong. But to see the level of engagement of these students being able to communicate via a video game and whatnot. If you look up Friendship School throughout the Times of San Diego, there's actually an article that's written up about that experience. So check it out if you have an opportunity. Yes, question back there.
Do you spend any time in the classroom on interpersonal communication skills?
That is a great question. I have an example, but I want to give an opportunity for any of my fellow panelists to answer that as well.
Are you talking about in the realm of esports or just in classroom in general?
People to people,
Yes.
face to face.
So as I mentioned, we have a curriculum called Second Step, which does communicate, talk about those interpersonal skills with our students. But going into the esports realm, even though it's online, the students are sitting right next to each other. And so they're actually communicating with each other for Rocket League when they're calling plays. And so they'll call plays, and then a person will give feedback, and then they'll talk about it. And then after they're finished with the match, our students have talked about, hey, what went wrong there? And really being open to accepting that criticism also. So they're developing those skills, they're using those skills during the match, and then after also talking about what went wrong when they lost. Unfortunately, the county had it was our first ever competition. We got second place, but the resilience that the students showed after talking about what happened and how can we fix it and what can we do, that was person to person, not on the video game. And so there's a lot of opportunities for that.
I'll go ahead and answer this with an example that we did during our esports summer camp that we hosted a few weeks ago. When the students came in, we asked them to give us a list of games that they enjoyed, but we also asked them to give us the games that they did not enjoy playing. And lo and behold, we actually used that data to our advantage, because what we did was we talked to them about building out and how to approach something that you're not comfortable with or that you don't like. And we talked about having a growth mindset. And we did that in collaboration with each other, and we talked to them about how do you approach something brand new? You learn about it. What's the purpose of it? What are the controls about? And what's the outline for everything? And then after that, we told the students, all right, now you're going to select the game that you've never played. And the games that the students were avoiding during our esports camp, the main two was NBA 2K and FIFA. They did not want to play those games. And the reason why we wanted to emphasize those games as well is because those are actually CIF-approved games. So we wanted to also get them exposed to the possibilities of it. So being able to give students that opportunity of dialoguing with each other and having a game plan before they actually go in and attack the game. And then after the game, we talked about, okay, how could you approach this with other aspects in life? What about a school subject? What about a relationship? What about a job opportunity in the future? Because the esports camp was geared 6th through 12th grade. What about a school opportunity? So it was having that opportunity to talk to them about having that growth mindset and taking their approach to a game that they did not want to play, and then taking those skill sets and applying it to other scenarios as well. All right, well, I'm looking at the time here, but I definitely want to give time for the next panel. But at the same time, we really want to thank you all for joining us this afternoon for esports and emotional intelligence. Thank you again.